Hey guys, today we're going to be covering another installation of my top 10 units list for Dragon Ball Legends. Now, this is actually the June 2023 edition, but I've already done a different June 2023 editions. This is going to be June 2023 Part 2. Anniversary, dropping a lot of characters. There's a lot of movements going on in the meta. There's a lot of different switches and changes and stuff like that. So, equipment coming out, different Zenkais. So, there's a lot going on here. So, I figured it's worth making another list this month. So if you guys are watching this in the future, keep in mind this is the June 2023 Part 2 edition of this list. So, and before we jump into the list itself, I was like to talk about 3 points before talking about the actual placements here. So number 1, all characters are considered at 14 stars, best teams, best equips, etc., etc., etc. Number 2, I like to view this more as a top 10 ranking of the current meta, as opposed to the top 10 just straight up best characters in the game. And then number 3, this list consists of rankings that are entirely of my own opinion. My different ladder than most people who are probably watching this video. I play the game in Japan, so my experience is with the JP meta. So if you guys are playing in NA, you guys might be fighting different characters, different teams, and experiencing characters performing differently than I am. So I can only judge each character based off of my experience fighting with them and against them. So those are the 3 disclaimers before we jump into the video. With that being said, I do want to try and make these a little bit shorter. I think the last one I made was actually pretty short. It was just about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit less than 30 minutes. So I want to try and keep it to that if possible. So let's go jump into number 10, and we'll move up the list from there. All right, coming in at number 10, we have Revival UI Goku. I feel like he's probably still worthy of making the list here at number 10. Now, the big thing about this character is when he first released back, I think it was in February, was when this guy came out. I think it was February 15th exactly. The biggest thing about this character and why I think a lot of people downplayed him is because of how prominent Gogeta Blue was, right? It was him and Hit that were the 2 best characters in the game at the time when this guy came out. And everybody was using Gogeta Blue. It was just, he was the character to use, right? That's how it was. And so it became pretty tough to use this guy, but honestly, even with how prominent Gogeta Blue was, I feel like it was not like out of the question to bring this guy every now and then. And we've seen a slight fall off, a gradual fall off of Gogeta Blue as the past few months have transpired here. We've gotten Kid Buu, like probably the biggest counter to Gogeta Blue that we've seen. We have Goku and Frieza now. By the way, this video is being recorded post-buff, post-bug fix for Goku and Frieza, with the newest summonable units being the Gammas and Orange Piccolo. But yeah, the Gammas are a really, really powerful addition to the game that are obviously yellow. Both sides of the character, when you tag switch in and out, they're both yellow. And Kid Buu is just stomps on Gogeta Blue. So I think I've definitely seen a bit of a downswing in the popularity of Gogeta Blue, which definitely helps this character. On the flip side, I guess, you can kind of make the argument that, like, oh, Goku and Frieza being purple, I mean, half purple, kind of, I guess, hurt this character, but you could also make the argument that they're good together on the same team on Universe Reps, right? You run a Goku and Frieza, Ultra Hit, and then this Goku on the same team. That's a really strong team. That is a very, very powerful setup. With Goku and Frieza basically not needing like another character as Rising Rush defense, you can kind of just sack off this guy early on, and then you can sort of just go to town with UI, right? The revived version of this unit. The thing with this character is him being a revival unit. A lot of the times what you would do is you'd sort of like save his revival to have it be like a Rising Rush deterrent. But with Goku and Frieza now, you don't really need that. And you can have his UI form go to town and stuff like that. But yeah, I think overall this character is still really good. One of the better aging characters, I guess, so far. It's not like a top 3 unit in the game, but he's not like a bot. He's not like a top 30 unit in the game either. He's still positioned pretty nicely, and I think he works effectively on Universe Rep still. So, Revival UI Goku number 10. Let's move on to number 9. All right, coming in at number 9 on the list, we have LF Orange Piccolo. So I think for this meta, for this environment that we're in right now, 5th anniversary part 2, I think I am comfortable with having this guy at number 9 on the list. If you wanted to move him up like 1 spot, I could see it, I think. But this is like, really, it's not a great meta for Piccolo, to be honest. He is an interesting character, I think, right? Because he is basically a modern version of Revival Gohan from the 3rd anniversary. The Revival Purple Gohan from the BoJack movie. But clearly, definitely not as powerful, definitely not as impactful as that Revival Gohan was on release. This guy has definitely a really interesting transformation. I think there are a few things that I would have liked to have seen a bit differently designed for this character, because I definitely have seen a lot of people complaining with this unit. I've seen a lot of people calling this guy just straight up bad, which is certainly not the case. I mean, he's a top 10 unit in the game right now, I think. I have a number 9 in the game. That's pretty damn good. The thing with this character is a lot of what he's trying to do post-transformation is dependent upon his counter, his green card. He has no way of force drawing a green card, right? And especially when you're running him on the regen setup, which is where I think he's designed to be used on, his best partner, of course, being Kid Buu, a lot of times you end up prioritizing Kid Buu with his green card because of how, like, literally Kid Buu's green card is the single best arts card in the game, next to Rose's blue card and Goku and Frieza's blue card. It is the single best arts card in the game, Kid Buu's green card. So I feel like this guy definitely needs green cards to perform well post-transformation, because if he does, and you build this guy properly, which I think is just completely offensively, by the way, if you've built him properly and you are in a, average position with the unit where you're not just like pigeonholed into fighting like multiple purples, then you're pretty much guaranteed a kill with this guy landing a green card. Right, the no card destruction ability is pretty powerful in this meta. He can go type neutral when his gauge is filled up, so I do think he actually is pretty damn strong once you're able to land that counter. Which, if you look at this character, he has a very similar situation to the transforming Yellow Jiren. Actually, this character post transformation, if you're in mid range with this character and you have you have a strike and you have a green card in your hand, the opponent can't do anything to you. Right, I'm going to make the same exact comment when we talk about Yellow Jiren in a second, but you go to mid-range with Orange Piccolo, what does the opponent do? Right, you have a green card, guess what? That counters a tackle, it counters a strike card. Your opponent blasts, you can counter it with your strike card because you have blast armor. So there's nothing your opponent can do except maybe throw like a beam-based blue card, a long-range blue card, in which case you just vanish, right? So it becomes very, very tough to deal with this character if you're fighting somebody that actually has good reflexes and can react to, whatever your opponent's doing or whatever you're doing, right? So I think this character post-transformation definitely depends on how good your reaction time is and knowing when to, sort of utilize the counter. Pre-transformation, again, I equate him to a modern version of Revival Gohan. I think he's going to retain a lot of value moving forward with his revival, with his healing, with his support, with the extra green cards that he's drawing. I mean, we see that right now, right? You can pretty much use this character as a green card drawing engine for Kid Buu, which is basically, in this day and age, when you're fighting multiple purple units per match, which is usually what I encounter in the JP meta, I'm usually fighting multiple purples per match. That's, I guess, the quote-unquote correct way to prioritize using this character is just use this character to draw a bunch of green cards for Kid Buu, feed them to Kid Buu, and then you just Kid Buu all over them and you win. That's just how this character is going to work right now. So in terms of his actual performance as an individual character, I wouldn't really call it like A1 right now, just because, again, it's not really the meta for him. You still have Gogeta Blue floating around. Again, his popularity is falling off as compared to what it used to be, but it's still pretty out there. You still see a decent amount of Gogeta Blues. You see a decent amount of Zenkai UI Gokus floating around, and of course Goku and Frieza are literally every single match. Maybe like 8 out of 10 matches you see them. I think at least I do. So a lot of really powerful purple characters floating around, and then on the flip side, I don't really see many blues. Right, so it becomes a lot harder for this character to be super effective in this environment when you're fighting mainly at a type disadvantage perspective with this unit, right? I mean, sure, 17 is still pretty popular. He's not as popular as he was, I don't think, because Universe Reps just has way more options now, and Goku and Frieza sort of cover the anti-Rising Rush leg of that team. And then Goku and Frieza, the Frieza side, right? But the thing is, with the Goku and Frieza character, most of the time, the person using Goku and Frieza has control over, which character they're switched into most of the time, because of how hard it is to actually land a combo on them. So I just find that there aren't enough good blue units in the game to where this character is really establishing himself as a dominant solo unit. His role right now, as it stands, is more so just a support second best character in your team sort of role. And then if you get the transformation and you actually are good at using his green card counter, at that point, he can be a really powerful field control character. So that's really where I see him right now. I think this is a character that will probably outage a lot of the rest of the characters on this list just because of what he's doing pre-revival, plus the fact that he just straight up has a revival, right? A revival is a really powerful mechanic still. So we will see how the meta evolves, and hopefully this guy becomes more useful down the line. I definitely do expect him to be better down the line, especially as Regen continues to get new units, which I think they should, because Regen has been a tag that's been heavily neglected for a long, long time. So Orange Piccolo, number 9. Let's move on to number 8. All right, coming in at number 8, we have Ultra Gogeta Blue. Kind of weird and kind of crazy seeing this character number 8 on this list, considering how good he still is individually. Again, this just comes down to his placement in the current meta environment. There are a lot of good yellows right now. I mean, yellow and purple are the 2 strongest colors in the game right now, I think, right? I guess. Green up there too? I don't know. But yellow, I think, is definitely number 1 in terms of the strongest colors. I mean, we have Kid Buu. We have the Gammas. We have Jiren. All insanely powerful. And honestly, they're all pretty defensive characters. The Gammas are actually more defensive than people give them credit for. It just makes it a lot tougher to use this character. I don't think this character has really aged that much since he came out. We've just gotten repeated ridiculous yellow units, right? We started with Kid Buu. He was really, like, if you take a look at when this character released back during Legends Festival 2022, like literally in December. So from December all the way until Kid Buu came out at the end of April, I think it was literally the last day of April Kid Buu released, that 4-month span of time, we literally received like 0 really good yellow characters. And then they're like, all right, we've had enough. And then they gave us Kid Buu. Probably just still the best counter to this character that exists, because they knew that we needed it. People were getting tired of this character, so they gave us Kid Buu, who's a pretty well-targeted counter to this unit. Then we received Jiren in part 1 alongside Goku and Frieza. Probably one of the best banner units, / 1% sparking units we've ever seen released, period. And then we just got the Gammas, Gamma 1 and 2, a yellow tag switching character that does not reverse their typing. So they're permanently yellow, no matter who they're switched into, with a core breaker, preparation mechanic. So I don't think that me putting this character at number 8 is a testament to, this character being quote unquote bad or aging out. I would actually, once again, state that it's the reverse. And the fact that this character being purple, being even on the list at all in this meta, is a feat in itself, considering how many ridiculous yellow characters exist in this game. But clearly this character is still really, really good. Again, most people are assuming that we're going to be getting a Ultra Vegito Blue in part 3. That if he's red and he revives the Fusion Warrior team, which he should, guess who's coming and making a gigantic comeback instantly? It's this unit. I could see this character jumping back up to like number 2. Right? If we get a super mega broken, like best unit in the game, hands down, Ultra Vegito Blue in part 3, he's red. He wants to be ran next to this purple Gogeta Blue. Like, yeah, this guy's going to be like number 2 in the game again, or number 1 even. We'll see. Well, I don't think he'd be number 1 because then Vegito would be number 1. But I could see this guy and a potential new Ultra Vegito Blue being the 2 best in the game easily, depending on how they build a potential Vegito Blue. So we'll see how that plays out. But as it stands right now, there's just, I feel like this guy's teams have sort of started to fall off. Fusion Warrior is definitely not as good as it was. Movies definitely not as good as it was, because I feel like with the new movies units we've received, the Gammas and Orange Piccolo, I don't know how well they work with this character. I don't think they work the best with this unit. He's more so looking for a good Vegito to release in part 3 of the anniversary, and then we'll start talking. But number 8 is going to be Gogeta Blue. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7, we have Transforming Yellow Jiren. So here's what I'll say about the next 3 spots. So 7, 6, 5, and 4. So the next 4 spots. I think you could realistically move around the characters from 7 to 4, and it wouldn't really make that big of a difference. I think they're all pretty interchangeable. My order here is just going to be Jiren at number 7, then we'll move into 6, 5, and 4 here in a second. But this character's really good. Again, I think he probably is just one of the single best 1% sparkings that we've seen on the banner that's released next to an LF. Like Blue Zamasu comes to mind as well. But yeah, this is a home run. This is a home run character, this Jiren. We see Goku, well, at least I see Goku and Frieza essentially, again, like 80% of the time, maybe more, maybe 90. 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 when I'm queuing into PvP, I see Goku and Frieza. This is one of the only units that really can stand toe-to-toe with them and eat their combos fully and not just get completely torn to shreds. He's really powerful offensively still. He has the green card counter. He has the same exact effect as Orange Piccolo, where when Orange Piccolo is transformed and when this Jiren is transformed, they have blast armor on their strikes and they have a melee style countering green card, right? So again, you float to mid range with Jiren, and what does your opponent do? They can't do anything, right? The best play you can make against somebody who's doing that to you is you back up and then you blast from long range. But if the Jiren or Orange Piccolo player is actually good and they know what they're doing, they will just follow you to long range, right? They're not just going to stand there while you back up and blast. Like they're gonna follow you and stay in mid range. The best way to play Jiren, the best way to play Piccolo with the transformed versions of those characters is you just stay in mid range at all times, and your opponent really has to just take a risk in how they want to fight against you. Like they can't just throw. I mean, eventually they're just going to have to pick a card to use, right? And then if the person who's using Jiren or Piccolo knows what they're doing, they can counter it. It's that simple. There's really no counterplay. They have an answer to everything. You just have to hope they don't have the one that you're gambling against. So, this Jiren's really good. Again, defensively, he's really good. The art's powered down, the card destruction, the Dragon Ball destruction, the healing, a lot of these intangible effects. He's kind of like, I don't even, like, what's the best way to describe? He's kind of like a similar character to Blue 17, but I personally think that Blue 17 brings a little bit more to the table in terms of team cohesiveness. And the double vanish, I think, puts him a little bit of, gives him a little bit of an edge over this Jiren. But this Jiren, really, really good. Him being yellow is really good against Goku and Frieza right now. Just really, really nice unit. Jiren, number 7. Let's move on to number 6. All right, number 6, we have Android 17. I don't really think this character has moved too much on my list, really, since he released almost. Like, he's like, I think he started at like number 2 on the list. Yeah, because it was him when he came out, and then Gogeta was number 1. And then like he's like moved a little bit down the list. He's up to number 6 right now. So I mean, he's slowly moving down, but this guy's held up pretty damn well. The reason why I moved him, I think he was number 5 on the prior list. The reason why I moved him from 5 to 6 here, well, we have a new character above this unit, but so obviously his main team is Universe Reps. And one of the biggest functions of this character on the Universe Reps team up until this point was the fact that he basically was their Rising Rush deterrent unit alongside Revival UI Goku. You don't always run Revival UI Goku on Universe Reps. And I think with the release of Jiren and Goku and Frieza now as well, and the fact that Goku and Frieza have been buffed and hotfixed, I don't think you always run this character on Universe Reps now, right? Goku and Frieza is an auto-include of the team. I think if you want to run the best version of Universe Reps, I think it comes down to Goku and Frieza and Hit are auto-included. And then the third option, it kind of just is up to you. I think if it was my decision, I probably would just pick the 17 as the third character. But Jiren is obviously more than capable as well. I think Revival UI Goku is more than capable as well. But it feels like Goku and Frieza with their gauge, the anti-Rising Rush gauge, now that it's been buffed, this character's uncancelable endurance, which was one of the main things that he was providing to the team, it's sort of become less valuable. But that's definitely not to say that this character has lost like tons of value, because he's still providing value in tons of other areas. So I don't really have that big of an issue with this character being number 6 here. Something else which we'll talk about in a second here is one of the biggest things that sort of held this guy back from being super mega powerful was the presence of Ultra Rose for a long time. Ultra Rose obviously just being like one of, if not the single most dominant character in the game for a long time until Kid Buu released, has sort of began falling off. There's multiple reasons because of that, which we'll talk about when we get to him in a second here, but the increasing amount of characters that are immune to status ailments and abnormal conditions, the amount of purple units that exist right now, Goku and Frieza mainly, right? And then, of course, we have like Zenkai UI Goku, and then we have characters like Gogeta Blue, who you see still fairly frequently, at least I do. So I feel like, so And also the fact that he's out of the feature boost finally. It feels like he's been in there for like 500 years. But with that downgrade in the power that we're seeing from Rose, this 17 has sort of started to get a bit more breathing room, right? It's not like you're in a situation where that 17 gets touched by Rose once and it's like, oh, okay, well, we lost. Or he's instantly dead. So that's definitely nice as well. And then the last thing to mention, of course, is that the Gammas have really helped this character, right? This character is not just on Universe Reps, he's also on the Androids team. And the fact that we have another really strong Blast yellow Android character complements this guy really, really well. And this guy complements them really well, too. Because the Gammas are a really powerful defensive character. I think people haven't really started to realize that yet. So, yeah, this guy's still pretty good. I think he, again, probably will outage most of the characters on this list. I don't want to say all now, because we have a few on here that I think will probably be neck and neck with this character in terms of aging well. But, yeah, this guy's still really good. 17, number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Okay, number 5, we have Ultra Rose Goku Black. Again, I think I'm going to try and go a little faster. I'm moving a bit slow here. So like I just mentioned in the segment about 17, this character was dominant for a mega long time. There's 3 things that have happened in the game that have sort of hurt this character's viability a little bit. Number 1, he's not in the feature boost anymore. After like 4 years, they've taken him out. They realized that they just forgot. Like, seems like he's been in the feature boost for like literally 2 months too long. He was in the feature boost for. So that's number 1. Number 2, we've seen a lot of characters in the game that are now like immune to abnormal conditions or status ailments, particularly paralysis, which definitely hurts this character because a lot of what he's trying to do is paralyze the opponent and then just, RNG them out of the game. And then the last thing is that Goku and Frieza are purple for, 2/3 of the match. We still have Ultra Gogeta Blue in the game, and then we have characters like Zenkai UI Goku. And there's some other purples that are floating around still too, like Purple 17 you see every once in a while. But Goku and Frieza mainly are the character that you see every single match, and of course they have the ability to be purple, and it just makes using this character a little bit harder. I don't think it's like you're not like drowning in a sea of purple units, but there are at least like I guess I call it 1.5 purples every match that I can run into, the half being Goku and Frieza. So it's those 3 things together: the status ailment immunity for a lot of these units, no longer being in the featured boost, and then the purples, the prominence of purple units right now. Still a really crazy unit. The fact that he's even number 5 on the list here as a green character in this environment that's dependent on status ailments, right, and stuff like that. This character's just dumb. This character's really dumb. I just did a video on revisiting him like a few days ago or a day ago or whenever that went up. I'm not sure. But yeah, he's still able to do tons of damage, go type neutral. I think him with Kid Buu still work really well as a powerful opponent duo. Yeah, I could see him gaining value depending on what we see in the future. Again, I'll make the same comment I made with Orange Piccolo in that we are definitely due to start seeing some powerful blue characters, show up here and there. So when we do, guess what character is coming out to decimate them? It's this character. So, this character probably will continue to gain lots of value as we move forward. We have Rose, number 5. Let's move on to number 4. Alrighty, jumping in at number 4, we have Gamma 1 and 2, one of the 2 newest LF units alongside Orange Piccolo. This character's really dumb. It's just straight up a dumb unit. This character, to me, really feels like a combination of Vegeta and Trunks and the Buu Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta duo. It feels like they sort of took the feedback that people had for both of those units, put them together, and then like removed a lot of the negative aspects of the characters, and that's what this character feels like. They feel like just a better version of those units. Really easy chance to get cover null with this character alongside type neutrality whenever you tag out into the other version. Of course, they're building up to the preparation mode with the core breaker. I guess the one downside is that once the core breaker happens, you're kind of just left with Gamma 1 and you can't tag out anymore, which means you're missing a lot of mechanics. But the card draw speed these characters get, they get a bunch of different blue cards from using their greens, the damage stacking. Defensively, they're actually really good. They reduce sub count on your allies and their healing whenever they take the first hit after switching in or tagging in. They destroy Dragon Balls when they use a blue card. It's on usage too, which means that if like an enemy dodges your blue card from close range, they can't just rush you because they don't have a Dragon Ball anymore. Yeah, there's a lot going on for this character. The fact that they are a blast-based androids character means that 17, well, I guess both the 17s, the purple one and the blue one, you can kind of throw this character on there. And then you have like a complete color wheel, yellow, blue, purple coverage, like the best possible coverage, I guess, against, characters like Ultra Hit, where you can go into 17. I think 17 literally is the single biggest deterrent to the time skip in the game that exists. So this character's positioned really nicely right now. I think they definitely are one of the better units in the game for sure. The Gamma's here at number 4. So like I said, I think when we started talking about Jiren, you could kind of switch 4 through 7 on this list. So the Gammas, Ultra Rosé, 17, and Jiren. Like if you wanted to put Jiren, like if you swapped the Gammas here to number 7 and you put Jiren at number 4 instead, I might be a little suspicious, but I could definitely see it. But 4 through 7 is pretty close, I would say, in terms of how good and how effective these characters are in the rankings right now. So tag Gammas at number 4. Let's move on to number 3. All right, coming in at number 3, we've got Ultra Hit. I don't really have a ton to say about this. We talked about this guy constantly since he came out at the end of January. 5 months ago? February, March, April, May, June. Yeah, 5 months ago. This guy came out, like, almost to the day. And he's number 3. Okay. I'm going to keep this as short as possible. Again, you run this character next to Goku and Frieza on Universe Reps, and you win. Right? I mean, I don't know. The only thing with this unit, and the only reason why he's not, like, number 2 or number 1, I think, at least for me, is because he is severely weak to enemy Goku and Frieza, the Frieza side, right? The Frieza side catches this guy in a blue card, he's dead. Boom, instantly dead. One-shotted. But other than that, I mean, I don't particularly see a ton of 17s. I see a decent amount. Like, it's not like it used to be where it was like, again, 8 times out of 10, I'm seeing 17. I think I probably see 17 maybe like 4 matches out of 10 now, which is not horrible, but it's not a particularly high rate. It's like 40% of the time, maybe 30% of the time I see him now. So there aren't that many strong blue characters deterring this guy's time skip. I very rarely see Blue Zamasu. I don't really run into him as much anymore. I think he's definitely seen better days at this point. It's just his time. It's just his time. Right? All units have that time. It's just Blue Zamasu's time. But yeah, the time skip is pretty absurd. I think, looking at this list, I put Revival UI Goku at number 10. I think the synergy between UI Revival Goku and this hit is actually pretty overlooked by a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people understand how powerful the UI Revival, like the pre-revive version of UI Goku's main ability into the hit time skip is. Because you get a combo started with anybody on your team, you go to UI Revival Goku, you pop that main ability, you're comboing for like a good 8 counts straight with your full hand plus card draw speed, plus type neutrality, plus cover null. The enemy can't do anything about you comboing them at all. There's not really much they could do. And then most of the time, you're able to just combo into hits time skip. So that combo really is pretty damn strong. That Revival UI Goku combo with hits time skip. But overall, really dumb unit still, I think, even 5 months post-release. Defensively, he's able to hold up pretty well. I think when you look at like all these powerful yellow characters like Kid Buu and the Gammas and Jiren, yellow being as powerful of a color as it is right now. I think yellow is easily the best color in the game next to purple. This hit really is like your main tool to use against all those characters. So I have hit number 3. Let's move on to number 2. All right, so coming in at number 2, we have Ultra Kid Buu. I guess I'll just tell you that I consider number 2 and number 1 to be pretty interchangeable. If somebody has Kid Buu at number 1, I would be like, yeah, I could see it. Like, this character is just so stupid. The main reason why I sort of separated Kid Buu from Hit, because if you guys have seen my prior lists, Hit and Kid Buu I've always stated can be interchangeable. And the reason why on this list I'm separating Kid Buu from Hit now, I'm just saying straight up that I think Kid Buu is better positioned in the meta right now than Hit is because I literally never see Hit. Like, I'll run into a Hit maybe once every 10 matches, maybe even less than that. The team I run into by far the most is actually a bit of a weird one. I'm not sure if it's this might be like a JPQ special or something, because I've never heard of anybody even mentioning this team ever. But it's Goku and Frieza, Jiren, and Revival Frieza. That is the most common team that I've seen by far. I was actually tempted to put Revival Frieza on the list at number 10. But there's no way. There's just no way. Individually, there's no way I could do that. But that is the most common team that I see. And then if it's not Revival Frieza, it's some variant of Universe Reps with like Zenkai UI Goku, Purple UI Goku. I see very common. Regardless of however you want to look at it, there are a lot of purple characters floating around. So we'll see Gogeta Blue a lot as well. I've seen a lot of Gogeta Blue on Universe Reps as well too. So I think on average, I'm seeing like 1.5 purple characters per match with no red characters. Like, if you look at the list of characters that I have here, the top 10 list, there's one red, and it's Hit. And I just don't see Hit, ever. So, how is Kid Buu being stopped, right? That's what it comes down to, and that's the reason why I have now separated Kid Buu from Hit on the list. And then, of course, the other reason is, if you guys haven't guessed, Goku and Frieza will be number 1. We'll talk about them in a second. But this is really the biggest, I guess, roadblock for Goku and Frieza. I actually would say this is probably the biggest roadblock for Goku and Frieza next to Blue 17. This guy probably a little bit more than Blue 17, but Blue 17 is a close second. And also Jiren as well, those 3 units. Like the more defensive characters in the game. And it's funny because I actually did a God Rank grind last season, which was a team of those 3 characters, Kid Buu, 17, and Jiren. Right? So actually, it'd be kind of funny to use that team again, because I feel like that's a team that really can put a stop to Goku and Frieza, and that really shuts them down. But Kid Buu overall, I mean, you guys know the deal with this character. Just a ridiculous unit. I think he has the single best arts card in the entire game, which is just his green card. Do I want to say his green card is better than like Gogeta Blue's ultimate? I think I probably would. Like, what's the best single arts card in the entire game? Is it Kid Buu's green card? Is it better? Well, I guess it's not better than the time skip. When Hit's time skip is charged up, obviously that's the best one. But besides that, I guess Kid Buu's green card is the single best arts card in the game, right? Just a ridiculous character. Cover null forever. Card draw speed forever. Healing forever. Uncancelable endurance. Just dumb. Just absolutely ridiculous. So I have Kid Buu number 2. Let's move on to number 1. All right, so coming in at number 1, we of course have LF, Goku, and Frieza. Now, on the last list that I did, I believe these guys were at like number 8 or something like that. So a lot of you might be wondering, like, how the hell did they jump 7 ranks to number 1 from number 8? They received a buff. The developers have deemed that it was necessary to buff this character, which I actually don't think was that. A lot of people are like, "Oh my god! Like, I can't believe they buffed this unit. They're so stupid, etc., etc., etc." I actually think it was the correct decision. But this character is now, like, honestly, it almost feels like they received a Zenkai. That's the difference that we're seeing with this character. They're just ridiculous. I mean, I have them at number 1 for a reason here. Again, like I mentioned with Kid Buu, if you want to put Kid Buu at number 1 and this Goku and Frieza at number 2, I think I'd be more than okay with that. In fact, my first draft of this list, I had Kid Buu at number 1 over Goku and Frieza. So you could definitely argue one way or the other. If you want to put Kid Buu at number 1, I don't think there's a single sane person that would argue with you. I mean, anybody that's experienced fighting any sort of Kid Buu at all would sort of understand where you're coming from. That character is just ridiculous. I don't know what they were thinking. But Goku and Frieza, after their buff and after their hot fix with the bug, I think this character is definitely deserving of being number 1 on the list. They're just doing too much, right? Not only are they the hardest hitting character in the game, them next to Hit, but you can put them on the best team in the game next to Hit, right? Them, Hit, and like Blue 17, them, Hit, and Jiren, them, Hit, and then Revival UI Goku. Any of these combinations are just so ridiculous. It's just the fact that they literally do not care about Rising Rush for the first half of the match, pretty much. And then the fact that they're probably they're probably not the single best last stand character in the game, but they're definitely up there. I mean, who's a better last stand unit in the game? Kid Buu gets permanent endurance nullification. I don't know, because they get their gauge back and you can't rush them, and they have like an unkillable amount of defense and HP. I will tell you guys this, looking at the buffs that this character received, There are 3 things that I think I would probably not have done. And they might not seem like a lot to most people, but the first thing is type neutrality versus blues and ultimates. That is ridiculous. I did not think they needed that at all. This character becomes a lot harder to kill because of that. Every time Goku is hit with a blue card or an ultimate from a yellow character, it's doing type neutral damage. Every time Frieza is hit by a blue card or an ultimate from a green character, it is doing type neutral damage. That is really, really broken. That is Ultra Gogeta Blue's mechanic. That's the same mechanic that Ultra Gogeta Blue has. That is crazy. The second thing that I don't think they needed was the card locking. This might not have been something that was added to them with the buffs, but the only like truly toxic thing about this character I think that exists is the random card locking when you switch out against this unit. So if you're comboing this character and you're in the middle of a combo and you want to switch to a character that's, you know, on standby, you switch mid combo, this character is going to randomly seal one of your card slots. And because you don't know what card slot is going to be sealed, there's a possibility that your combo is dropped. If you're switching into I don't know, let's say you're using the androids team, right? And your team is purple and blue 17 in the gammas. If you're using the gamma 1, let's just say for example, and you switch into blue 17, one of your card slots is randomly going to be sealed. If you're clicking that card slot and it gets sealed, your combo's dropped. Like, it's just random. I hate that. That is the only toxic thing about this character that I think they didn't really need that, right? And then the third thing that I don't think they needed, which again, I think this is probably a pre-buff ability, but the fact that Frieza's cover nullification on tag-in is non-cancelable, I actually don't like that. And the reason is because it creates an environment where this character is the only counter to themselves. And what I mean by that is because Frieza's cover null is uncancelable, an enemy, Goku and Frieza, can't cover change and nullify the rush if Frieza uses rush while he has cover nullification, right? It becomes a situation where it's like this character becomes the only counter to itself, which is a really bad situation for in like the world of game design. When a character is the only counter to itself, like it just creates an environment where you are actually forced to use this character to get around it. So I'm not really a huge fan of that at all. So those 3 things I don't think this character needed. Like literally just don't make Frieza's cover null uncancelable, make it cancelable. I don't think they needed the ceiling. I just think it's overkill, and it just makes it annoying when you're trying to combo the character and it's like, okay, I wonder what card slot's going to be locked, and you still randomly guess. It's coin flips. And then the other thing, I don't think they needed the type neutrality against blues and ultimates. I don't think they needed it. Like, yeah, it's nice that they have it, I guess, right? But they didn't need it. But this character is just utterly ridiculous. I mean, there's a reason I'm fighting this character 8/9 times out of 10 times, right? 8 to 9 matches out of 10 I'm fighting against this character. One thing I do want to mention as well is I think this character will probably outage most of this list. This character and then blue 17 I think will outage most of this list. But yeah, the anti-rising rush gauge, the fact that they replenish it as the last man standing as well, it's really, really impactful. I remember back when I did a list, I think it was when Ultra Rose first dropped, and most people had Ultra Rose at number 1, and I think I put Gogeta Blue at number 1, and my reasoning was because his gauge just controlled the match too much. I equate this Goku and Frieza's gauge similarly to Gogeta Blue's gauge, where it just has too much control over the match to have me not put this unit at number 1. And that's just my opinion, right? Because again, even when they're on standby, they're controlling the match. And that's not something you can say about like Kid Buu. Kid Buu is ridiculous. I think everybody knows that by now. But Kid Buu is not doing anything when he's on standby. This character is. This character is deterring the opponent from rushing, no matter if they're on the battlefield or if they're on standby. So that to me is the big difference between this character and like Kid Buu, for example. So Goku and Frieza here at number 1. I have a hunch that they're probably going to get dethroned as we move into part 3 of the anniversary. I think whatever Ultra we're going to get is just going to straight up obliterate everything in the game. That's just how they've been designing Ultra characters to be, so I don't really expect the Anniversary Ultra drop to be any different, but we shall see. So just to go through the list again, number 10, we have Revival UI Goku. Number 9, we have Orange Piccolo. Number 8, we have Gogeta Blue. Number 7, we have Jiren. Number 6, we have Android 17. Number 5, we have Rose. Number 4, we have the tag Gammas. Number 3 is Ultra Hit. Number 2 is Ultra Kid Buu. And then number 1, we have Goku and Frieza. Let me know down below if you guys agree or disagree with the list, as well as what placements you agree or disagree with and why. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.